Hi, everybody. My name is Stephen Crompier. I'm president of the Adjunct Faculty Association over at Nassau Community College. I'm here today with my son, Stephen Crompier. We'll call him Stephen Crompier 2. I went to Nassau back in the day when Nassau first opened up, actually. And my son Stephen followed in my footsteps. We both have a great affection for Nassau, and so much of what Nassau did for us while we were there has factored into our future success big time. So I wanted to talk to my son today to give you an insight as to what Nassau might do for you if you're a student, and if you're a parent, what Nassau Community College might do for your son or daughter. So, Stephen, you graduated 31 years ago. That's an awful long time, isn't it?
It is. It feels like it was just yesterday, but it was 31 years when I graduated from Nassau Community College. So it's been a while. And now my son, who is also Stephen, number 3, he just started his career at Nassau, which I'm very proud of, and it's something that we both decided was in his best interest.
Okay, so give me a little idea of what it was like at Nassau when you were there, and how, what you experienced at the school affected who you are, what you do today.
Well, I when I started at Nassau, in all honesty, I was very nervous. I wasn't a very strong high school student. I have a learning disability. I was diagnosed dyslexic in second grade. Had a hard time reading. I wasn't too sure if I was going to be able to succeed in college, and I'll tell you, I got to Nassau and there was such a mix of students. I had students sitting next to me that were 95 and above graduates from high school, and I had students that were, mid-range, academically, I would say, weren't students that had maybe in the 80s, and I was someone who was very glad if I got a 75. And what I found, one of the things I loved being at Nassau was I realized that the classes were really, for me at least, the classes that I took, the professors were just so helpful and were really there. They always made me feel like they were there for me. The classroom sizes weren't too big. If you showed up and you did the work, you were going to pass the class. And if you were having trouble doing the work, there were always resources that you could get help. For example, I took a accounting class. I was majoring in business. I had decided that business was what my interest was. And I took an accounting class, which was a class that, for me, was hard. Especially I had to take things slow, and I was, I transpose numbers if I wasn't careful. And I remember struggling just a little bit in the beginning, and the professor making it real clear to me, look, there's an accounting lab here at Nassau. And right after class, I'd go to the accounting lab, I'd put some time in there, and I was able to get an A in that class. Something I was really proud of. And what's interesting is I'm a business teacher now, as well as an entrepreneur. I've run 2 different types of businesses, and it's one of my, when I teach accounting, it's funny, I always feel very proud because that was something that was a great accomplishment I felt when I was in that class. But it was really, to go back to the professor, it was like that in a lot of my classes. And one of my English Lit classes, which I also got an A in, and I struggled in the beginning, and the professor met with me after class and met with me during their office hours, and there were always these resources and places I'd go and get help. So, which really built a lot of confidence also, because I realized, wow, this is something I can do. And I'll tell you, you know, after Nassau, and I'm not putting down any of the other colleges, I went to St. John's, I went to New York Tech, I got my master's at Stony Brook. All were fantastic colleges, but none of them had the support system that I got at Nassau Community.
Wow. You spoke of being an entrepreneur. I know that real estate became an interest of yours.
Yes.
And how did that materialize, and where are you today with that?
Well, I majored in business. I got my first business degree at Nassau Community. And I learned so much. Everything from the marketing class I took, and I can remember, and I'm not great with names, but I can remember Professor Bloom. It was just such a great class where a lot of hands-on projects that we did. Again, it wasn't a hard class. If you showed up and you did the work and you paid attention, I did real well. Got an A in that class also, and it was a very interesting class, and it gave me a really good understanding of what marketing was all about. And then I took a sales class, I can remember, with Mr. Hagelman. Incredible class, which really made a big difference. I mean, even now, a lot of the practices, a lot of things that I do, I reflect on that class specifically. I say this, I learned more at Nassau Community than all the other schools combined, and it wasn't difficult. They weren't difficult classes. There were classes where you went in and there was really a lot of value in what you were learning. And even, it's funny, my son he's taking a class now, and I was looking at some of the material that, at Nassau, and we started talking, and I said, oh, you should definitely take philosophy. And I can tell you, like, that class, I learned so much, just in that philosophy class. And the professor was so enthused about being there. And that was really a big thing. You had a lot of adjunct professors at Nassau Community that were in the field. My business law professor was a lawyer. I had business professors that were entrepreneurs like me. And it was just an incredible experience. And it's funny sometimes when students will come to me and they'll ask me about what they should do. They'll come to me for advice. I'm always so enthused to tell them that Nassau Community really, it would be a great place for them to go.
And you gave Stephen 3 some great advice. Well, first of all, the advice was choose Nassau Community College. And, he was a 96 student. He was positioned that he could have gone to virtually any four-year school that he wanted to go to. But there were so many reasons why you felt Nassau Community College was the best place for him to start.
And what you just said is true. He could go to most four-year colleges would have accepted him. He was a much stronger academic student than I was in high school, and I was very proud of him. He worked hard. But there were some schools that he thought about that he was interested in going to that probably wouldn't have been accepted to. And when I talked to him about it, and he's a smart kid, I said, look, if you really are interested in going to these schools, one of them was Cornell, I said, I know people that have gone to Nassau with grades that weren't as good as yours were in high school, and were able to transfer to schools like Cornell, because they did so well at Nassau. And he's just started, and he's on that route. He's taking it seriously, and if that is something that he decides to do, he's going to have more options than he did when he was in high school. And for both of us, I didn't tell him, oh, Stephen, you have to go to Nassau. I absolutely talked about when you go back to selling, which I'm good at, I talked about the features and benefits of going to Nassau, and he understood. And, he's going to have so many more options when he graduates from Nassau than what he had, leaving, out of high school, without a doubt.
You know, it's so interesting too, and the classes that he's chosen as a first semester freshman, coming into Nassau, like most high school students that transitioning into college, they don't really know what they want to do with the rest of their life in terms of a career.
And I didn't.
Yeah, and I didn't either. But, you know, I looked at his schedule. He told me that he was interested in possibly becoming an FBI agent, a Secret Service agent. Well, he's taking a beginning police science course. We knew all along that he had a great interest in science and biology and the environment. And so he's taking an environmental science course. And so one of the big advantages is coming to Nassau is getting some understanding of what career you want to get into. So when you choose to go to transfer to a four-year college, the college will specialize in what you need to know, the credentials you need to have to get a entry-level position, a well-paying entry-level position upon transferring.
Absolutely. And, you know, I started off at Nassau as a liberal arts student because I wasn't sure of what, you know, my interest was. And like I said, soon after taking some business classes, I said, well, this is what I want to do. And it's interesting because I have been, you know, successful in reference to the investments I've made and some businesses that I've run. And while working as a business teacher, you know, I realized I loved teaching. You know, when I was, even in my accounting class, I remember helping some students because some students didn't take advantage of the lab. So I'd come in at the next class and like, wow, you're really picking up on this quick. And you know, for whatever reason, so I'd help them out. And I said, you know what, I like this. I like teaching. So I decided to become a business teacher, and I had the ability to take the money I made teaching and invest in some businesses. One you mentioned was with real estate. You know, I do vacation rentals. And, you know, now as a teacher, and I'm a high school teacher, and I live very close to the town that I teach in. And what happens is, of course, you know, I'm out on I have a small yacht that kids will see me in the summer out on that boat. And you know, frequently over the years, you know, I've had this reputation of being this successful teacher who's you know, some students have passed my place. I live in a small town, Amityville, and you know, it started with kids going to see the Amityville Horror, and as they drive by, they see my home. And I've had students that, you know, they ask, how do you live in a house like that with a teaching salary? And you know, I think a big reason why so many kids take my business class in high school is because they hear, oh wow, this guy's successful, this guy does really well. And you know, it's funny, so many students will approach me and ask me about investing. They're like, well, how did you do it, Mr. Crump? You know, you do, you know, we saw your classic car, and you know, someone told me that you've done events, because I ran an entertainment company also where I did events for Microsoft and Puerto Rico Tourism and Bank of New York and some real big events. And my advice to them is always, you know, go to Nassau Community College. And they look at me, and that's what I say. I say, I'll tell you what, I'll tell you. You want to make an investment, go to, and then they of course follow up with, what do you mean by that? And what I say is that Nassau Community College is a great investment. Because most of them don't have much money. They want to know how to invest, so they've got, you know, a couple of $100s in the bank. And I say, well, that was my greatest investment. You know, first of all, while I was going to Nassau, I was working part-time. You know, right now my son can't be in this video because it's Sunday and he's at work, and he's also going to Nassau. So he'll make more this month at his job than Nassau cost him for the semester. I had all of these friends who complained, you know, when we graduated from college about these incredible loans that they were so, distraught, and how am I going to pay this back, and I'm only making so much money. I graduated from college. I moved up the career ladder at the job I was at when I was in college, so I was still working that part-time while pursuing, to find a teaching job. And I had no debt at all, which is big. So I tell them, I said, that Nassau is a great investment. Nassau, you're going to save money, you're going to not have a loan you have to pay back, and you're going to position yourself with the resources you have now to be successful, to maybe really start investing money and know how to invest that money very early on. I bought my first home, I was 24 years old. I purchased my first home. I was in a position to do that because of Nassau Community College. So I'm very passionate about what I'm saying, because Nassau Community College was the greatest decision I ever made. And I have, I've met so many other people who echo what I'm saying. And I'm sure with my son, he sees it now. He's saving money. He's learning a lot. And it's just a great decision that so many people don't think of.
And I've watched you over the years. You bought that house in North Babylon. I think you paid about $100,000 for it.
In that range, yep.
And you sold it for $300,000.
Correct.
And you sold it relatively recently.
Mm-hmm. Over 300, to be honest. It was about 360, I believe. So
okay.
But and I when I bought my second home, I rented that house for many years. So it was income. It was and I realized, wow, this is something I can do. And I just closed on a house, $1 million home on the ocean, on Sunday, another home in the same area that I do now. Now I do vacation rentals. And it's just, that was, what it set me on that road was, and where I had some money to do that at a very early age, was the money I saved. So, everybody wants to be successul, and it's just, I look at, I could just go through my siblings with you and talk about success, because they all went to Nassau Community. I go, my sister, who's just a little bit older than me, I say that because I don't want to piss her off, she's just a little older than me. She went to Nassau Community College, took quite a few business classes. She is now the Vice President of Human Resources for the National Hockey League. And, she got into her career early. She really, Nassau Community was all of what she did in reference to college. She decided to not continue because she was able to get into a career while working at Nassau, and she moved up the career ladder, and they weren't concerned with her continuing with college. They wanted her there at work, and she sure did. She's extremely successful. She lives we live in a nice neighborhood, and she lives right around the block from me. I had a sister, I have a younger sister who also went to Nassau. When I think about it, so she went 2 years to Nassau and then transferred to Old Westbury. And while she was at Nassau, she had decided that she wanted to go abroad and study in England. And she needed money to do that. And the reason why she had the money to do that was because she went to Nassau Community first and hadn't, she hadn't had to take a bunch of big loans. My brother, who also went to Nassau Community, very successful, majored in business also, and he has an incredible career as a writer. Where he's running his own business. He writes currently for Z100. He's a comedy writer, and he does stand-up. He's been, on TV. He's, we're so proud of him. I mean, to be able to do something you love, and to make six figures is a great accomplishment. And a lot of the business savvy he has was a result of taking business courses at Nassau Community College. So there's just so many different, on so many different levels, there's so many benefits to going there. I mean, I can sell you on the fact that, you know, the education is just so fantastic because I feel that way. But then the other end of it, of course, is the savings, the value, or I should say, the value of it, which, you know, has made all the difference for myself and my siblings.
Now, and you mentioned that you worked while you were in college. Stephen 3 is working when he's in college.
Yes.
I worked in college. The flexible scheduling that Nassau offers. Nassau opens up at 7 a.m. There are courses at 7 a.m. in the morning, and they go to 11 o'clock at night. There's also a weekend college. I know for me that flexibility was really important. Was that as important to you?
It was for me as well, because I worked quite often on the weekend, just like my son does, and I worked at night. Sometimes I didn't want to get up early for classes regularly, especially when I started working at night. So there were so many courses to choose from, and there was a lot of flexibility. And then I even took some classes in the summer. There was a science class which I loved, and probably a big part of why, I was mentioning before I love boating. I took a marine biology class where I got 4 credits in 1 week, which, again, initially I did it because I wanted to get 4 credits in 1 week, which was great. But, my love for marine biology is a big part of that class. We went to different beaches and on boats and talked about marine life, and it was just an interesting, very interesting class where I left from there. It's funny, we were on the beach one day and my son sees an egret and he said, "That's a beautiful egret." And I said, "Yeah, that's a snowy egret." And he's like, "How do you know?" I said, "Because it has, look at the feet are yellow." And he's like, "How do you know that?" I said, "Nassau Community College." And that wasn't too long ago. But it was just an incredible school. And I get back to the professors caring. That was what was so key. I always felt like, and even like I went to St. John's afterwards, and I'm not putting down St. John's, it's a great school, but my first experience, my first class was a management class, and there were hundreds of kids in that class. It was I definitely wasn't getting that attention, that personal attention. And I really think, I know that if that had been my initial experience, not Nassau Community, but if I had gone there first, and I'll also be honest, they wouldn't have taken me there if I had gone there first. I had to go to Nassau. I definitely would not have succeeded. Nassau Community laid the foundation that I was equipped to be in that type of setting and still succeed. One of the first professors I had spent some time with me just taking notes. It was just, how to take notes, which was key. It was just an incredible experience. And, I talked to my son, because one of the things my son was, a little bit hesitant was you want to, socialize, you want to be in a setting where you meet people. And, I had so many great opportunities. At one point I was wrestling at Nassau Community College, and I wasn't an incredible wrestler. I was a good wrestler. But, they let me wrestle with the team, and I made lots of friends and vacationed with some of those friends. I remember in spring break. It was always just a real friendly atmosphere. There was a great commons area where everybody would go and hang out. The students were very friendly. There were people from all over. A lot of people from Suffolk County that had decided to go to Nassau. Like myself, I was traveling at one point from Hop Hog to go to Nassau Community. And there were other options that were out in Suffolk, but I just had always heard about Nassau Community's reputation, and I had seen what it had done for my father, who did not grow up in an affluent setting, and was someone that I so respected, and it was just a no-brainer for me.
Something interesting about Stephen going to Nassau, I don't know if you know about this, But like I said, he's interested in police science, he's interested in criminal justice, etc. But he's also interested in bio and science. Well, Nassau Community College has an internship program. And the great thing about Nassau Community College's internship program is students can get into it at the end of their freshman year, the beginning of their sophomore year. And the reason that has so much value is not only do they get credit for doing an internship, not only do they learn firsthand from people who are in a career that they have an interest in, but they also get to decide if a particular career that they think might be good for them
And that's key.
is actually good for them. How many friends do you and I have who went to those great schools and got plugged into a pure liberal arts? They didn't get the career guidance that you and I got.
100%. And I don't want to mention any names, but I have friends that decided to major in accounting and went through and then did an internship at the very end. And I have one gentleman I think of specifically, and then it's kind of too late. You know, when the internship, he's like, wow, am I really going to like this? And he started his career, and within 2 years, he quit. I mean, he's now a New York City fire. He's a fireman for the New York City Fire Department, which is great, and he loves it, and that was something that he decided he wanted to do. But when you think of, he went to a 4-year school where he spent, tens of thousands of dollars, and just all of that time, and then he's paying back college loans while working as a fireman for a degree that, so that is key. I mean, that is just so important to have those opportunities. Now, a lot of that I didn't have the opportunity to do any internships. So it probably were there, but I was working so much I just didn't have the time. But some of the jobs that I had also helped me to decide, because I was able to work. I think when you work, you also, it's similar to an internship, you kind of get a feel of what you like and what you don't like. I worked at restaurants because at one point I thought, I want to be a cook because I love cooking. But after working at some restaurants, I realized, wow, I don't want to own a restaurant. That's not what I want to do. And then I started working for an entertainment company where I had the opportunity to learn how to DJ and MC events, and that I loved. And that experience, similar to an internship, enabled me to open up my own entertainment company. And I started that entertainment company while I was at Nassau Community. The last year I was at Nassau Community, at the very end, was when I made a very small investment. I think I invested about $3,000, which was a lot more than the tuition at Nassau, especially at that, more than the tuition at Nassau for a semester, probably similar to what it is now. It was nothing. And I built that into a big company, as you know.
And I do know. And I hope that you know now that Nassau Community College is the place for you to get your start. It was the place for me, my sons and daughters, and is currently the place for my grandson and grandchildren to follow. So, go to ncc.edu, the Nassau Community College website, to learn more about Nassau and what it has to offer you, or to apply. Thank you.